All right. Well, welcome back to the Money Advantage podcast. This is Rachel Marshall and Bruce Wayner, and today we have the pleasure of having my friend and publisher of my book, Kary Oberbrunner, on the show. Kary, welcome so much to the Money
Hey,
Advantage podcast.
it's great to have you. I'm thrilled to be here. I've heard lots of good stuff, and yeah, it was fun catching up. So excited to add value to your people today.
Awesome. Well, Kary, just wanted to share a little bit of your bio and background and how I came to know you and just some of the connecting threads that we have here. Because if you're listening to the Money Advantage podcast, you are in a position of creating wealth. You're probably a business owner. You are thinking differently about money and capturing and controlling wealth and then creating generational wealth. And a really key piece of that I think is not talked about often enough is intellectual property. This
Mm,
is copyrights, this is patents,
yeah,
this is
sure, sure.
trademarks, this is protecting the intellectual capital that you create and not just creating ideas and producing ideas, but protecting that. And that's why we're talking to you, Kary, today, because you have a book and you have a tool that
Yeah.
helps people to really do this well. And I'm really excited to dive into this topic that you
Mm,
have that just connects with family and generational wealth.
I love it. Thrilled to be here. And Bruce, maybe you've seen the statistic as well, but the S&P 500, which, here in the States is really important. It's the 500, most prominent brands, businesses. They did this thing back in the 1975 where they said, look, out of the 500 top companies, what percentage of the assets are intangible? Meaning they're not the brick and mortar, they're not the buildings, they're not the supplies and equipment. Take a shot at 1975, the S&P 500. What was intangible? What percentage do you think was intellectual property?
In
I would,
1975.
1975.
Go ahead, Bruce.
so I would think it would be less than a day because part of that intellectual property is your branding and so on and so forth. And branding is more valuable when you can get more people to see the brand. And
Mm.
obviously, we didn't have social media, the internet at that
Ah,
time. So I'm gonna guess anywhere between 25 and 30%. I'm gonna
hey, all
guess.
right. What would you say, Rachel?
I mean, I'm going with a low number as well. I was thinking like 5 to 10% because
Yeah.
there was a lot more product. I don't know. I'm just going to say 5
Yeah.
to 10.
I love it because you both it's right in between you both. Boom.
Oh,
17%. So 17%, I was born in 76, so a year before I was born, 17% of the S&P 500 was intangible assets. All right, now here's the fun one. Today in I'm gonna say 2020 was a big crossing of a line, and now 2024 is even crazier, but let's just go conservative. Let's just say 2020 S&P 500 intangible assets. How much of like my Apple iPhone, how much of the value is in the intangible versus the phone? What do you think?
Well, then from my previous comments, I'm going to say it's going to be quite a bit higher. It's going to be in the 40-50% range.
Okay,
Um,
40.
I'm act, yeah, I'm actually married for 38 years to a brand marketing specialist, and
Mm.
so she's always hammering this kind of things home to me.
So you'd say,
And it,
yeah, it went from 20 to you think like 50, you think.
yeah, I think I started at 25 to 30%, and now we're going from 40 to 50%. Yeah,
Okay.
because people, especially now in the influencer world, people are very brand conscious, because
Yeah.
this person said this brand's good, whether it's good or not, that's the intellectual property
Mm.
portion of it, and so I'm going to purchase
Okay.
that value.
What do you think, Rachel?
I'm going to say it's way higher, and I'm going to say because of all of the digital products, digital marketing, um, the service-based industry, coaches, consultants that are, yeah, because of that space. I mean, now granted, you're talking about of all GDP, really.
Right.
Right, but they're not
It's
on the
S&P
S&P.
500.
Yeah,
S&P.
They're not
okay.
on the S&P,
Yep.
the
Okay, you're
coach
you're right.
space.
Ah, I don't
It's
know. I'm still gonna say 70%. I was gonna say
all
higher, but
All
I'll say
right.
so.
You ready for the number?
Yeah.
Again, this is conservative 90%.
Wow.
90% of the S&P 500 is intangible assets.
Wow.
2024, they believe it's more 96%. And here's why. Here's why. We don't think of IP the way that the S&P thinks of IP. Meaning, I ask people all the time, tell me about Taylor Swift. Do you know nobody I've ever asked this to? Nobody. And I know we're on the call, so like I probably could set you up well, but nobody would ever say that Taylor Swift is an IP company. But you know what? Taylor Swift thinks she's an IP company.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You know why? Guess how many trademarks she's filed? 300.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So Taylor Swift herself creates content and then immediately protects that IP so
Uh-huh.
that people cannot take it and then take her merchandising. So the IP is essentially the key that opens up the door to Taylor Swift's kingdom. She's protected Swiftie, she's protected Fearless, she's even protected her cat names. Okay. So my point is that my new book, You Are an IP Company, I wrote it with the Katie Rubino of Caldwell. Caldwell is the fastest growing law firm in America, 4 years in a row. The reason why I begged Katie to co-write it with me is because I knew everyone would look at me and say, "Oh, you're an IP practitioner." Okay, so you're out in the field, you're creating IP, you're a publisher, of course you like IP. Well, guess what? I wanted Katie to co-write it because Katie brings this massive IP professional
Mm.
organization. So you got an IP practitioner, an IP professional. We co-write a book. The book is all about 12 thinking tools, 12 steps that you can take to make your company, so your clients, an IP company. And what we did is we made the book so fun. So we said, you know what, this is not going to be a fun topic. Let's just be real. It's fun for me, but who likes IP? So instead, what we did is we said we're going to write 12 stories of companies that people love and use. So guess what? One of the chapters is Taylor Swift.
Mm.
We talk about how Taylor Swift literally protects her IP. Another one is EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, which I think you've all heard of.
Absolutely.
EOS, guess what? They're an IP company, right? We have Krispy Kreme, okay? We have CrossFit. We have Dr. Pepper, which is now the second most popular beverage soda in the world. They crossed Pepsi this year. So the point is this, that everyone who's drinking anything, like I can take this bottle right here, and you know what? This is IP. This is IP. Okay. This is IP. The bottle design is IP. Like people don't realize. And let's just talk about, Rachel, your coaching and your practice. Okay. IP is everything unique that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So why is I don't want to mess it up, Bruce. Is it E squared wealth? E3 wealth. So why is E3 wealth and why is the money advantage? Why is it different than every other podcast business in the world? And what we do, Rachel, is we have in the book what's called a harvest. So we show you literally what the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, what they do to determine whether something's unique or not. And so we give you that filter in the book and we say, now go into your attic in your company, go up to your attic and say, where are all the gold bars and Rembrandts hiding? Because here's what most people do. Most people, when they sell their businesses, they sell their business way undervalue. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. They say, my business isn't worth much. Really? Okay. And here's what I do. I meet people all the time and I sit with them and I say, what IP do you have? Okay, so let's take this true story. This is guy in London. I'm sitting in Dan Sullivan's strategic coach session in London. I was visiting, speaking at the blockchain conference. I'm sitting next to a guy and I'm like, what do you do? He says animation. And I say, that's fantastic. I say, who do you work with? He's like, oh, we work with Lego and we work with Disney. And, he starts naming all the people. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I said, well, what do you think of Dan's talk? He's like, oh, it's great for those companies. And I say, well, what about your company? He's like, I don't have any IP. And I say, really, really, you don't have any IP, really? And then I start asking him questions. I say, how do you attract top talent? And he's like, well, we have a unique process. Well, I say, tell me about that unique process. And he starts telling me about it. And then I say, do you have a unique way of tracking your customers? I mean, you have Disney and Lego and Barbie and all these places. I mean, certainly you have, top clients in the world. Like, how do you stay top of mind with them? Oh, we have this little thing that we do, a little, again, everyone undervalues it because they say that you can't read the label when you're inside the jar. So everybody's sitting there saying, that's boring. We do that all the time. There's nothing unique about that. But the outside world looks at that and says, whoa, the way that they operate, branding, domain names can be part of your IP portfolio. And if you don't believe me, just Google what is the biggest domain name ever sold for. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things, just do it. The swoosh, right? Why is Jordan on Michigan football uniforms? Jordan basketball on, the thing is like the people who are crushing it, Rachel and Bruce, here's the lie. The lie is Taylor Swift should protect her IP because she's big. Lie. Taylor Swift is big because she
Because
protected her IP. So
so that's a
you
that's
see,
a fabulous question. I mean, we could go so many places in this
yeah,
conversation today, but I think as someone's listening, there's most of our audience are business owners. They're people who are in a space of entrepreneurship of some category and they're creating businesses. And so I think this applies to anyone in business that they should be listening to this conversation to
absolutely.
say, how can I recognize my uniqueness in business and how can I make my business and work more valuable by recognizing our unique processes and protecting that? But let's answer the question that you were leading towards right now. When do you start thinking about IP? And yes, it's expensive. We've gone through some of the process for trademarks. We have a couple of them already, and we are copyrights. I don't know. I'm not
Oh, yeah, I
exactly
hear.
in the space, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it's the bigger one, the
yeah.
trademark. So it's a process. There's legal fees involved in that. How do you know when is the right time to start thinking about this? And then I would love if we could dig into some of those 12 steps that you had
Yeah.
to really begin to make this a priority.
So I love this topic, and here's why. Because Rachel, we met when we were publishing your book. In what year? What year was this? 2 years
Oh
ago?
my goodness. This is the book, Seven Generations
I love
Legacy.
it. I
The Author
love it.
Academy Elite is on here,
Yes, that
which
was
is
one of
Kary's
my
company.
publishing companies. Yeah, yeah.
I want to say probably
Like 19, 20,
2 years.
20,
No, it's probably 21,
21.
22,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah, yeah. So you published a book with us. And again, back then I was thinking, cool, we got our book out. Great. We'll just slap a copyright on it and we'll send it to the Library of Congress control number. Well, here's the truth. In your book, there is massive IP. I
Hmm.
mean, think about it. Just start flipping through your book. And people might say, well, how do I know? A graph, a chart, a list. Okay. There's things that I've said for years. Like the other day, when you prepare for the moment is prepared for you. Guess what? That's one of my quotes, right? But you know what? If I don't grab it, no one's going to try to be like, ooh, I want that and I'm going to steal it. But here's the thing. We trespass on people's real property when we
Hmm.
don't know where the fence is. You ever remember this as a kid? You're like, hey, we're going to go out hiking. And all of a sudden, not that anyone would do this back when we were kids, but, all of a sudden you hear a shotgun, you know, why? Because you're on their property. And you could
Hmm.
say, well, there was no fence, there was no sign. The truth is that most businesses have no intellectual property protection strategy or even just policies or processes or anything like that. So essentially, everyone is just saying, I'm going to roll with my business until I get stopped. And guess what? I've gotten cease and desist letters. The other thing, by accident, right? I mean, I'm not out there being like, ooh, who can I steal from? But you know what? I chose a name and started rolling with it. And all of a sudden, I get a letter from a lawyer who's like, knock, knock. Do you know that that's our name? And you can either do one of three things. You can fight us and go to court. You can pay royalties and license fees for the rest of your life, or you can rebrand. I was like, I'm rebranding. And thanks for telling me. Thanks for not. And they gave me 30 days, and it was a multi-billion-dollar company in overseas that I had never heard of, and the USPTO had never even heard of. And all of a sudden I get a letter. Okay. So that's one example. But I've been on the other end where people have literally stolen my stuff intentionally. Google Alerts is a great technique anyone can use. Google Alerts, it's free. You basically get three searches, and I totally recommend to put your name in. I encourage you to put your business name in. And so through that Google Alert, they had said that my latest book, Your Secret Name, back in the day, it had popped up. And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. Maybe somebody's reading the book. Sure enough, it was a pastor who had taken the whole book, claimed it as his own, started a sermon series, was starting a speaking business on Your Secret Name. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I quickly just emailed him a nice thing that said, hey, this is the author. You probably don't know, but what are you planning on doing with your speaking series? Well, he never responded, but within 24 hours, he pulled everything off. He felt guilty because he knew, But here's the thing, you do not need to spend $30,000. A patent is $30,000 and takes 1 to 3 years. Okay. So if you patent something that is like, there's different types of patent. There's plant patents, which are like for, vitamins or, stuff like that. Plant patents, but there's also design patents. So a design patent might be like a cap, but there's also this process patents, where you're literally like, what is a what strategic coach is patenting a lot of stuff. Okay. Patents are really valuable. It's like the nuclear weapon of IP protection, but it takes a ton of time, a ton of money. The average rejection rate is 2.6. So think about
Wow.
that, right? You file it, you wait 2 to 3 years, and then you have to get rejected. And most people just are like, screw it, I'm done. But then you have to do it again. I have a patent. It's right here on my wall. I patented what's called Instant IP. Instant IP is our company. I'm not against patents, but here's what I said, Rachel and Bruce. I said we have to have a faster way and a cheaper way and an easier way. So literally, everyone, you can go from smartphone to smart contract. Okay. So Bruce, Rachel, you're having a meeting. You're writing out some stuff. Ooh, let's crush it with this new product line, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you want to go trademark that thing, 12 to 18 months, and with a lawyer, 3K. Okay. Who's got 12 to 18 months and 3K every time they come up with an idea? So I came up with I looked at what the definition of abracadabra is. Do you all know what abracadabra means? Like literally,
No.
I didn't know either, but
I mean,
take
it's like a witch spell thing.
yeah, see, so a lot of us think abracadabra is like, yeah, we grew up thinking it's like some magic or witchcraft thing. Here's what's crazy, Rachel. Okay, you may know one Hebrew word. You know the Hebrew word for father? It's what Jesus said,
Abba.
Abba.
Hmm.
Abracadabra is literally made up of three Hebrew words, Father, Son, Spirit.
What?
Yes. And
Wow.
here's what it means. I create as I speak. So abracadabra literally means I create as I speak, or it came to pass as it was spoken. It's the most common word in every language that doesn't have to be translated. Like again, Google this. I love words. Do an etymology search when you're done. So I thought to myself, okay, God said, let there be light. Abracadabra, there was light. We're created in God's image, in my view. Some of your viewers might not,
Absolutely.
but in my view,
Yes.
created in God's image, right? That's why people are worth something. If God does abracadabra and creates as he speaks, and we're created in his image, what if we are supposed to also create as we speak, imagine ideas and protect them immediately? So I thought, how do we go with IP protection immediately? And so, Bruce, this is a weird story, man, but I got a blue book that I wrote over there about blockchain. There it is up there, blockchain. Okay. So everyone's talking about blockchain a few years ago, and I'm like, there's something here. I don't get it. I don't even know what blockchain is, but there's something here. And there's something with books. I know it. I know it. I know it. So I went down this path and I started to like have a mind blown of like what is blockchain. And I don't know if you're familiar, but it does deal with IP and it does deal with the solution, which is why I'm sharing about it. Okay. You guys are in finances, you know that ledgers are very important. Debits, credits,
Hmm.
bank account statements.
Cash flow statements, balance sheets.
You're
Yes.
right.
Personal, business. Yes.
I don't like any of that stuff. I'm a word guy. I'm not a numbers guy. So, but I know that ledgers are really important. Well, here's what blockchain does. Blockchain, instead of it being a private ledger, The beauty of blockchain is that it's a public distributed digital ledger. Lots of words, let me break it down. It means that the whole world can see everything that happens on the blockchain, but nobody can ever change it. It's immutable. It literally is given an attribute that is the same as God, immutable, unchanging. Now, I'm not saying blockchain is God, but you get the point. All right. But I'm saying that why blockchain works the way it does is because it says instead of the ledger being on Rachel's device or Bruce's device, it's on every device on the planet. Everyone can see it. But the definition of cryptography is hidden in plain sight. It means that a block of information is protected, and then the next one, and then the next block, and the next block. And for you to go 5 blocks back and change it, anything, you'd have to hack 51% of the computers in the world at the same time. So this is massively secure. And then here's what else it does. It creates a timestamp. So follow this with follow
Yeah.
this with me.
First, right of first use or whatever, right?
Ah, so why do I not own the golden arches? Why do I not own your Money Advantage logo? That's amazing, right? Or E3 Wealth. Why don't I? Because I wasn't there first. So all intellectual property is based on timing. You see this? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally, if you go to the USPTO, they're going to say, you want to file your trademark? Oh, you can't because it's already taken.
Somebody's already used it. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
do a patent? Oh, you can't because they already have it. Or, oh, it's open. You can do it. So I said to myself, what if we were able to take an idea and I'm talking like on a napkin, a file, a photo, or text? And what if we were able to, and I'm going to show you this. Can I demo this for you really quick?
Oh, absolutely.
I think you might need to make me co-host. This might be the actual first time ever we've shown this publicly. So your audience, I thought the app would be launched, but it's launching Monday.
There you go.
All right. So let me show you a little bit about this stuff, okay? So imagine this. Here's an inside look at the app. Again, it launches Monday, but I'm able to say, look, I want to take a photo, a text, or a file, right? So if I come here and I say, you know what? Let's come up with a text. And I don't know, do you have like a phrase that you say or some kind of thing
Well,
that's,
who's going to be capturing this?
yeah, that's the
Is it?
truth. So let's do a test one. Let's not protect it and give it to me for the rest of my, let me do
Do
one.
do
Yeah.
you want to do the closing of the show, Rachel?
No,
Well,
don't even do it.
Is
Don't
that
even do it because I want to save it for you. We'll give you a smart contract at the end. I'm gonna do that one that I thought of the other day, which is my quote. And again, like everyone should Google and make sure it's not already taken. But oh, when you prepare for the moment is prepared for you, right? Again, or I could be writing a napkin thing in a restaurant and I could do the photo. When you prepare for the moment is prepared for you. All right. I hit submit, boom. I have to describe it, right? So I might describe it as like Kary Oberbrunner's method of saying you need to be prepared, whatever. Then I literally hit protect my idea. Okay. And what I do is there again, we give everybody a free one to try, okay? But it's 97 bucks. 97 bucks, a lot cheaper than 3K. All right. What this is doing now is this is protecting it on the blockchain. And we developed this technology where essentially it creates a digital fingerprint. And so right now it's already done. Boom, there it is. Okay, here's the certificate. So the certificate literally now creates the superscript. We've filed this with the USPTO. So you know you got a little TM mark. So we have an IP mark. So what this tells the world is back off. There's a blockchain protected IP right here. It gives you the exact moment of when it was protected, Eastern time, 11:31, down to the second. And it gives you the fingerprint right here. This fingerprint in a court of law, and you might be like, Kary, what are you talking about? What is the
that was
US?
going to be that was going to be my
Yeah.
first question.
So here's what you go to instantip.today, click about. Here's me talking to the USPTO. Here's my 7-minute speech. They asked me to come on board. Here's Harvard. Here's the American Bar Association. Here's little me, bald guy with a girl's name. And guess what? I'm teaching the USPTO about this technology. They wrote it up in the report in March. Here's my companies. And guess what? They recognize that you go down to the FAQ at the bottom. Are these enforceable? Can they be changed? What states recognize smart contracts? Boom, 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 boom. So, in other words, the USPTO isn't just knowing about this, they're actually excited about it. And here's why.
Mm,
Because AI, they can't keep up. They cannot keep up with AI. They cannot keep up with the internet. They cannot keep up with all the creative work that's going on today. And so when people literally have to wait 12 months in line to 18 months, they're freaking out. Okay. So along comes Uber, and Uber takes down all taxis. Instant IP is the Uber of intellectual property protection. And we're saying it's not to take down patents, trademarks, and copyrights. You actually should use part of them as your strategy. But your first layer and your fast layer should be instant IP. And here's why. You need to prove when you came up with the idea anyway.
hmm
The moment you do a patent, a trademark, or a copyright, what are they going to say? Give us
When did
proof
you?
when you
Yeah.
use it. And before this, you're like, well, I have a note card here. I wrote that note card, I think in 1981. Like you have no proof.
Yeah.
But now a smart contract, you can go back and say, here's the exact second we thought about it. So
That's fascinating.
I know we've said a lot here, but I got a TEDx on this. And again, I didn't know what people would think about this idea if they thought this was nerdy or stupid. It's been viewed over 1 million times. So
That's
yeah,
fascinating. I mean,
yeah.
it's showing that there's a demand for the idea of protecting ideas. I mean, really, when you're talking about protecting at inception,
Yes.
it's fascinating because I've had this conversation with someone before, and we're talking about different forms of capital, right? So Jay
Yes.
Hughes talks about the five forms of capital, and he came up with this idea where you've got not just financial capital. Most people think about their money, but then you have your human capital, your intellectual capital, your
Mm.
social capital, which is your relationships, your
Oh, that's good.
spiritual capital. And so this is what makes up your worth as a human. Then when you put that together in a family, well, this is your value as a family. Well, how do you improve that? How do you
So good.
increase your capital? So another component of that is thinking about, well, what have you created as a family? And as you are in this mindset, I mean, you're an abundance thinker, Kary. This,
Right.
as you're in this mindset of everything can be created, the world is limitless, it's based on
Yeah.
ideas. We have infinite ability to create. There are infinite ideas yet to be produced. When you think about being on the side of the coin of being the producer, you're not just the consumer, the consumer of the word I'm looking for, entertainment. You're not just
Yeah.
looking at the production of other people's intellectual capacity and the way that they've developed their intellectual property.
Right.
You are being the driver of that, which means you're owning more. You're thinking from an ownership perspective, not just a taker perspective. I mean, there's just so much behind this that if you are going to advance and be in a position of gaining ground financially, this is really a huge piece of the conversation.
Listen, Bruce started our call today by holding up a book of a name of a friend that we have. And yeah, hold that up because we'll get
I'm
them to
going
watch.
to.
We'll get them to watch this. Don't spread the wealth. Jason Lowe and Richard Canfield. Well, guess what? They now own that IP. And that's where most authors stop. But you know that we've been telling you, Rachel, for years that kind of what makes Igniting Souls different. I'm going to show you the quick image here. But we turn books into 18 streams of income, right? So we
Yeah.
we believe
Kary,
that.
I know we've got about 5 minutes, so you talk about this and then how people can reach you.
Oh yeah, yeah. So all I'm saying is, I want to encourage people that, Bruce, I think my biggest thing today that I want to have people realize is an identity shift. Like it sounds weird, like, well, we're talking about identity now. If you don't think your ideas are worth anything, you're not going to put a fence around them. I mean,
Mhm.
I see this all the time. I'm literally going to step out the room with 19, 20, 21-year-olds and teach beginning entrepreneurs. You know what? Sometimes they actually recognize their IP better than 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-olds. Why do you think that? Why does an 18, 19, 20-year-old think that they have IP more than the 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old? Why do you think?
Well, I would guess it's because they're not jaded yet, and so they think any little thing can really take off into the future. Where other people have said,
Interesting.
"Well, I've tried this, it didn't take off." Well,
Okay.
just another one of my harebrained
Crazy
brain
ideas. Yeah,
schemes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's true. I 100% I think that's true. Hey, Rachel, you want to add anything or you think that's kind of
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Young people tend to
here's
be optimistic.
yeah. Here's what else I think. If Rachel's been using a tool for 5 years that her and her company came up with, that's really good. Like we have all kinds of tools, like our 18 streams of income. What I just showed you, absolutely I protected. You know why? Because if another publisher comes alongside, here's a great way to say, okay, actually, this is a really good story, and we'll kind of land the plane with this. I met a guy who's so generous, and he said, you know what? I don't want to put a fence around any of my IP. You know what? Let the world take it. Come on in. We got our next person here, but come on in and grab a seat. I got a student here and he's creating IP. Come on, have a seat. I'm finishing my podcast. These are great people. So, here's the point though. This nice, abundant guy, he's like, look, Kary, I'm not going to protect my IP. I'm going to be generous. So, you know what? Someone turned to him and said, okay, fine. I'm going to say the guy's name is Bill. Fine, Bill. You want to give away all your IP. What happens if your competitor takes your IP that you have unprotected, rushes ahead and protects it, and locks you out of all your technology? His face dropped. He's like, I'd be out of business in a month. That's the point. You might be super generous and say, but see, here's what EOS does. EOS is very generous about their tools. They give them away for free. But you know what? They protected them all. And by the way, when you talk to their legal team of 5 people, they say that every week they're sending out cease and desist letters. They're sharing their IP, but they're not allowing other people to take their IP and monetize it.
Mm,
You see the difference?
yeah,
Mm.
Okay. So I think you asked how can people get in touch. Obviously, instantip.today is a big thing. The app launches next week. Everyone gets a free smart contract to try it out. So what I just
awesome.
demoed to you, I know everyone's got an idea. Try it out.
Awesome. And that was instantip.com.
Dot today. Dot
Dot
today.
today. Sorry.
Why? Because .com was taken. Right? Right, Bruce? Someone got to us.
Absolutely, all the time.
Right? It's timing. All comes down to timing. So yeah, instantip.today.
Awesome.
All
Awesome. And
right.
Kary, how can somebody find you? I know you do more work in the book publishing space as
Yeah.
well. Do you want to mention anything about that and how they can find you
Yeah.
there?
Ignitingsouls.com. And what we do is we publish, protect, and promote IP. So we're publishing the IP, we protect it with instant IP, and then we promote it into the 18 streams of income.
Awesome. Kary, I am so thrilled that you joined us on the show today. And really, as we're talking all the time with people about protecting wealth, because a huge
Yeah.
piece of being able to make wealth is protecting the wealth you've already built, this is a way to make sure you're protecting your intellectual wealth and
Yes.
making sure that you are advancing and being able to continue using that.
And hold your book up, Rachel, because we are so proud of you. Rachel's one of our authors. Get her book, Seven Generations Legacy. Boom. I love it.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank you,
having
Kary,
me.
for being a huge part of that process. And in closing, everyone needs to go to instantip.today.
Today.
Go ahead and get started on your intellectual property protection adventure
All right.
because the world's an adventure. Thank you, Kary. In closing, remember success leaves clues. So model the successful few, not the crowd, and build a life and business you love. We'll see you next time.
That sounded like IP to me right there.